Hour, guys. Good morning. Huh? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just have an overall health update on the guys today.
Yeah, Jamarcus was feeling quite a bit better last night and woke up this morning and wasn't feeling 100%, so we decided to keep him away. Kendall is now not feeling very good, so he was not at practice this morning. As far as everybody else, they were full participants in practice today. Burke he was full go.
What sticks out about this Maryland team?
Yeah, just they're playing their best basketball this season, and they've won 3 out of 5, and have had some really good wins in that stretch. Beat Iowa, won on the road at Minnesota, and then knocked off Washington in their last one. And it's a team that you can tell they're playing with a lot of confidence, and they play with a lot of energy and swagger. They're tough, they're physical. They got guys that are shooting the ball well right now. Mills has taken his game to a whole different level, averaging over 24 points in the last 4. Coit has 2 40-plus point games this year. Adams is a double figures scorer for them. Washington, we know him from when we played A&M a couple years ago, just really, really tough, aggressive, 6 offensive rebounds in the last game. And, this is a team that's, again, they're playing really well. Saunders is a guy that can really get it going from the outside as well, and they've got good role players. So I've been really impressed with the way that they've been playing in their recent stretch, and we're going to have our hands full tomorrow night.
This group to what you saw at State a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of similarities. They're playing the same way. They run a lot of the same defenses. They really attack the glass. They can really drive the ball and get into the paint. So there's definitely similarities. And then again, you look at what Mills has done in his emergence and what he has been able to do against some really good teams and some really good defenses. He really attacks downhill, and then if you play off him, he's certainly capable of knocking down threes. And again, they've got a lot of talent on this roster, and it's all coming together, and they're playing their best stretch of basketball.
With all these illnesses and ankle injuries, how tough is it for you to prepare and just form lineups, rotations when you don't know who's going to be on the court?
Yeah, we didn't do a whole lot of live reps today just because we were so shorthanded out there, and we felt we got done what we needed to do as far as the game plan. We had a good, sharp physical practice yesterday, and then normally we do back off a little bit day before the game, but we even did less than what we normally do just because of how shorthanded we were, and saving guys that are playing a lot of minutes at this time. Just with the guards that are out right now. I mean, we're still getting Kendall a lot of reps, and he's got to be ready for situations like this. Unfortunately, he's one that fell, and hopefully it stays away from the rest of the team here over these next 24 hours. But yeah, it does affect your preparation. There's no doubt about it. But we'll get Jamarcus all the film that we watched, and hopefully be able to get him in at least to shoot some free throws and feel the ball a little bit later on today. He did feel better as the day went on, but the way this thing has worked with Rink, with Burke, is it's really bad in the mornings. So hopefully this runs its course over the rest of the day. Kendall will probably be very careful with tomorrow, just because it seems to be 48 hours, and then the guys progressively start feeling better. But hopefully we can get Jamarcus some reps later this afternoon.
Where have you seen Leo just develop and grow the most throughout this season?
He's developed a lot. I think his body is probably the thing that really stands out. He's put on 25 pounds. He's been in the development group where he's in the weight room pretty much every day with Kurt Joseph, and it's his footwork. He came in with good footwork, but when you look at what he did, that move he made in the paint where he had patience and stepped through. He had a couple really good left-hand jump hooks against Michigan a couple weeks ago. But you love to see kids that work as hard as he does get rewarded for it, and that it's good to see him. And we're going to need him. We're going to need him the rest of the way. We're going to need Jared. He had another good practice today, and those guys obviously give us great depth, and we're going to need those guys to give us minutes.
You've been in this position before as a coach, but not here, I guess. Being more of the hunted instead of the hunter at this point in the season. What's your message been to the team?
I think you're always a hunted in this league. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. I mean, these teams are ready. They're all extremely well coached. They've all got a lot of talent, and everybody's fighting for something at this time of year. And, if you're not ready, if you don't show up, it doesn't matter. And, I don't think whether, you're on the outside of the bubble, whether, we're in a position where we are, it doesn't matter. You still have to prepare the same way.
Was that for Braden to get that result last game after going through the last few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could see it, it's certainly visibly how much better he was feeling physically. And, you could see it in the first couple possessions where I thought he went in and set the tone by getting us extra possessions on the offensive glass to see his balance on his shot. He was really leaning and favoring his healthier side in the last couple games. Not only the ankle, but the knee. That I think had some residual effect just from, really trying to stay off and keep pressure off his ankles. So it's good to see him back. He told me he's feeling almost all the way back to 100% going into that last game, and I think you saw that in the result with how he played. So that's as much as anything. It's just how he feels. When you feel right physically, the game is a hell of a lot easier.
With the regular season winding down, there's only a couple of home games left. You've spoken previously about the home struggles last year. You didn't play as well at Pinnacle Bank as you would have liked. This year it's been better. What can you say about the fans and the advantage that they've given you?
Yeah, I mean, we have one of the great atmospheres in college basketball. I certainly think one of the more underrated. When you think of the top venues and in the atmosphere. A lot of times you're not going to see PBA up at the top with Allen Fieldhouse, with Cameron, with Hilton, with all those great arenas, all the great Big Ten, Mackey, the Breslin Center, everything. But I'd put our arena up there with any of them as far as fans coming every day, being consistent, being loud, being supportive. There's not a lot of fan bases like this anymore. So absolutely, our fans have been a huge factor in a lot of really big wins for our team this year, and we're going to need them in a big way tomorrow and then on senior night against Iowa. And, there's no doubt in my mind. I'm confident our crowd will continue to step up and, be as good as they've been all year.
Jessica, this has been one of the most enjoyable seasons you've had. Can you expand more on why you'll maybe remember this group for a long time?
Yeah, this is a group that has been really special to coach. And, in this business, what is this? I think 16 or 17 years now as a head coach, you're going to look back on and have some really memorable groups and really memorable teams. And this one is going to be up near the top, when it's all said and done, when I decide to hang it up. Whenever that is, or whenever they'll get rid of me, I guess. But it's really fun to have a team that is all about the right things and comes to work. They're unselfish. They play extremely hard. They're on the first of floor for the most part. We've won the 50-50 battle, I think. For the most part, all season long, even though we're giving up size and athleticism. And it's just their daily approach. I think that's the biggest thing that I've been impressed with this group is how they come in and how they work and how there's no distractions. When you have a team like that, it makes our job as coaches a lot easier when you don't have to worry about all the extra BS that a lot of teams that you have to deal with. So I've just been so impressed with their overall commitment to this thing, how they've turned the page, how they've handled adversity. Just all the things. Now, are we complete? No. We still have work to do, and there's a long road ahead, but certainly we'll look back as one of my all-time favorite teams.
Outside of just shot making, what are the keys to breaking down the zones and you see?
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep movement. You can't get stagnant anytime you play against zone, and they'll play a couple different ones, and we're prepared for it. We watched a lot of film on different things that teams have done that have been good. But the biggest thing is movement. You just can't be stagnant. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever defense, man to man. They'll play a switching man. They'll play, different zones. They have different coverages. But just be prepared to continue to move throughout the possession, and we'll be fine.
Seamus came up with a nugget that stood out to me.
Seamus McKnight.
What's that?
Seamus McKnight.
Yeah, right over there. Have you met him?
Yeah. Could be.
So Sam is the only power conference guy, 6 feet or under, to pull down 5 rebounds a game. He's the only one. What does that say about his grit and determination, and how does that sort of sift into the rest of the team's mindset?
Yeah, he's always played with a chip on his shoulder, and he's just, got a toughness to him. Loose balls. I know he's leading the nation in assist to turnover. He's saved a lot of turnovers just by attacking the ball. I mean, he's throwing the ball off hands and then just dives on the floor to protect his turnover. But his ability to go in there amongst guys he's given a foot up to in size differential, to be able to go up there with two hands, and he had some big offensive rebounds. He got a putback, got fouled I think in the last 2 games. When we've missed plays at the rim, but it's his mentality. You have to play with a toughness and a chip on your shoulder when you have the size that he does. But I'm not sure there's a tougher kid, and you can hear some of the other coaches talk about that as well. And the other thing is the scrum. I mean, I think he would have been a pretty good rugby player, because when that ball's on the floor, man, he goes after it. He doesn't care what's going to happen to his body. And I'm proud of him for that stat, because we need rebounding. Obviously, that has not been our biggest strength this year, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Sam leads us in defensive rebounds.
There's a stat too about power conference players in the last 14 years that have had a 5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, and it's him and Monty Morris are the only two.
Yeah.
Are there similarities beyond that in what they have given your teams?
Yeah, I mean, being around Monte and coaching Monte, when I think of a comp to Sam, I probably wouldn't say it's Monte Morris, but those guys both do a great job of making the right play and making simple plays. That was the thing. Monte had the ball in his hands probably a lot more than Sam did. He was our primary ball handler, and when guys make the tough play look easy, I think that's the sign of a really good point guard, and that was what Monte Morris did. Monte really didn't shoot a lot of threes when he came in Flint Beecher was his high school, but when he because he could attack the paint so well, and he didn't have to shoot a lot, but he became a 40% three-point shooter. So I'd say work ethic is comparable with Sam and Monte. They both put in a ton of extra work, and that's certainly benefited Monte, being a longtime NBA player, now playing over in the EuroLeague, and we'll see what happens with Sam. But I'd say work ethic, but as far as their games, I'd say they're pretty different. Monte couldn't guard. I'm just kidding. Monte was a good defender, but it was fun to coach them both. They're both all about the right things. Both great kids.
Monte isn't his comp. Who is?
Oh, I don't know. You have to give me a day to think about that one. Okay.
Charlie
Hoiberg.
When you think about extra possessions you guys create through takeaways or offensive rebounds, how much are you concerned about the raw number of those versus your efficiency after you create them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I talked about this before the last game. In our losses, in our transition, we had a 22% turnover rate in transition. In losses, in wins, we have an 8% turnover rate. And in the last game against Penn State, we played in transition a lot, and we only had a 6% turnover rate, and that led to a 20-plus point win. And we talk to our team all the time about playing with pace, but playing with smart pace. If you get into a track meet with this team tomorrow, it's probably not going to end very well, just because of the differential athleticism, size, that type of thing. So when we play with smart pace, we have a pretty good chance to win the game. But when we get sloppy in transition, that's when we get in trouble.
Do you have a long relationship with Buzz Williams? Do you know him much outside of playing him 2 years ago?
Not really. I knew Buzz a little bit when I was in the NBA. He came to a couple of our practices. I think the world of him. He's obviously done an incredible job at every stop along the way, and his teams play so hard and take on his personality, and he's just he gets his guys ready, and it's I know they're probably not having from a wins-loss perspective, but they're finishing this thing off the right way, and that's going to carry into next year. And they've got a couple of key injuries too. When you look at a couple of those guys with Rice and Payne that have been out all year, you get those guys back, and they're going to have some great additions. And again, their freshmen are really playing well right now, not just Mills but Adams. That they're going to be a force for a long time in our league.
Yes, Coach.
Thanks, guys.